Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and I wanted to do a review of the league a little bit now that we are 2 weeks in and we've played quite a lot. So I think it's time for me to just talk a little bit about the league, my experience with the league, and how we're feeling so far. So that's what this video is going to be about. The league started off and I was very set on doing the boss kill event. From the start, it is just incredibly rough. We are just really noticed the Archnemesis things. I personally think that was an absolute disaster at the launch. It didn't really achieve anything that they wanted to, or at least I didn't feel like they achieved what they wanted to. And it just felt incredibly stifling. But it's not all bad. So just talking about the launch, like honestly, like the launch, chef's kiss. So I really want to give them some credit there because they do an amazing job at launches. The queue is gone within 20 minutes. Touching some wood, so 319 isn't a massive disaster. That being said, this launch was not without bugs, especially for people doing the race. There was a Uber Dodri that I died to. Archnemesis in general is just not really solving what I would want it to solve. And I want to talk about that before anything else, really, because it is such an important thing. And it's really, really impacting and affecting the rest of the game. I think it would just be universally loved right now if they just said, until further notice, we're annulling all the Archnemesis changes and going back to the old ones. What I thought they were going to do with Archnemesis was going to be helping solve the problem of things not being that dangerous. Because I personally don't think that's a good thing either. I don't think it's really good for the game that we are just right-clicking monsters and that there's no danger. And part of Archnemesis solves that. But what I thought it was going to be was that there's still going to be a bunch of normal, pretty rare monsters. And then you would occasionally, maybe every 5, 10, 20 rares, encounter a Archnemesis. And maybe every X amount of those would be a really dangerous rare one. I also thought they would still drop the rewards from original Archnemesis because I didn't think there would be that many of them. So I figured, okay, this is going to be a challenging monster that I can fight and kill and I will get good loot, but they're dangerous. And yeah, some of them are quite dangerous, but I feel like they haven't nailed the visual effects, which what felt like the entire point of Archnemesis. I think the blue donut thing is amazing. It is very dangerous. I think the magma barrier thing is amazing. It's very dangerous, and both of these are very clear visuals. And even some of like the chaos, one of the chaos mods that with the purple rings around them, I clearly see them. These are dangerous. I will stay away. But I feel like, especially when there's multiple on one, I'm like, what does this thing have? It's just like 6 different effects. I can't really see here. Same with all the degens. There's some degens that are just straight up invisible. I'm like, I have some clips of me just standing in a degen. I'm like, why am I taking damage? There's nothing here. This looks like that clean spot over there. And then you do have some really good visual effect dots, like the fire one. Amazing job. It's very clearly don't stand in the huge fire. We might be starting off pretty negative here, but I'm actually loving the game. I am having so much fun. Like, league starts are always exciting, right? No matter how bitter or jaded you are with the game, maybe you feel like it's in a bad spot. Hopefully you still always find new leagues and new content exciting. If not, you should probably find a different game, right? Let's start looking at like pros and cons. We'll do pro things first, like things that I really, really like about the league. And honestly, currently this might be another 8 or 9 league for me. And for those wondering how that like stocks up towards previous leagues, I've actually really liked the last 3. So number one thing that they've done that's really good, just further investment into the Atlas passive skill tree. I cannot wait to see jewel slots and cluster things. I'm sure we all think they're coming. Like, they're probably going to expand on this, right? But we'll see what they do with the Atlas passive tree. But I absolutely love it. Like, having so much player agency and really being able to choose what content you like and don't like. And obviously, so many people in the community, myself included, was advocating for like, oh my god, let us sell league mechanics. And they did exactly that. So I think it is so cool what they've achieved with the tree that is just so special and so good. And it goes back to something Havoc said in like 2017 to me. He was like, he likes the choice between different OPs. And that's exactly what the Atlas skill tree feels like. Because I'm like, well, I want this, but then I don't get that. And that's a really hard choice. And it feels so good. Like, I hate when something's just the obvious choice. When it's like, yeah, well, of course you should have that. Why wouldn't you? It's dumb. But now it's very much like you see so many people do different trees. And you're never really shitting on it. You're always thinking like, yeah, I see that. That's a good reason for how that person is farming. The keystones also add quite a lot. We have things like shadow shaping and other things. We do have singular focus too, which is used, but using singular focus will also eat all your cortexes and things like that, and boss maps that aren't dropping on the maps you favored. And then another thing they added, which I was surprised at, people were like, well, they're probably going to add a Uber version of this boss next league. And I was blanket saying like, no, there's literally a 0% chance you are stupid. Basically, I was like, you're stupid. I'm stupid. They did add Uber bosses, and it is also the coolest thing ever. I was so incredibly wrong, and I was very happy to be incredibly wrong because they are just so cool. I absolutely love the new Uber bosses. The single best boss kill event we've ever had in Path of Exile. There's been one before for like Cyrus and Maven and things like that, and they've never been this hard, and it's just been so cool because obviously the community has reached a level where there's so many of us that are really good at bosses now. People are playing the gauntlet and clearing the gauntlet. And I just never in a million years thought they were going to add something this difficult to the core game. If you don't know, I got third in the event. I'm very proud of that. So I do get to design a unique for the game. I've chosen Uber Elder, so I'm working on that at the moment. Very, very cool. They don't currently have any good drops, but that's sort of up to the community to make. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar boss kill event next league. Either that or they'll add their own uniques. And next up, we have Sentinel League itself. I honestly had a little bit of a mixed feeling about this. At first, I was like, this looks like a lot. And the community often doesn't like that. And my first impression was like, am I even going to like this? I usually do like convoluted mechanics, but it just looks a bit much and it looks a bit weird. But Sentinel's amazing. Like, actually so good. Only thing, I feel like the choice is a little too obvious between the red, blue, and yellow Sentinel. I mean, the red one is, in my opinion, by far the best. I don't really like the yellow one at all. Maybe I just haven't given it enough of a chance. I'm just getting such an insane reward going in and out of maps and spamming red, and then I spam a little bit of blue. And it's been incredibly rewarding. Now, that being said, I'm not a huge fan of how much just it shits out generic rewards. I really prefer more like special rewards. Like, obviously we have the recombinators and they are incredibly cool. However, more things like heist. The heist rewards were so cool with the replica heist, with the gem heist and tempering orb, stuff like that. They're very unique, very special. So I love the heist rewards, even if I don't like interacting with the content. And then the recombinators are just so cool on multiple levels. You have the fact that you have a huge gamble on smashing really good gear together. These are maybe a little too powerful even, but very fun to play with for a league. I do wonder what they're going to do with them in the future. And we also have the special mod that Sentinel recombinators can add. Like on my amulet, I got the non-curse aura effect 20%, which is huge. And you can get crazy things like in strength or dex stacking on boots and just really good stuff. So very, very excited about the recombinators. So I think that's pretty much all for the pros. I am really, really enjoying the league. Part of why I'm really enjoying it so much too is obviously I already do enjoy playing very strong builds. I know a lot of people that enjoy playing bad builds are having a hard time. You are very forced right now to do Grace, Determination, Defiance Banner, and 100% Spell Suppression on pretty much every build. And that can be very stifling in the fact that you aren't able to fit damage auras and stuff like that. So clunky, wonky builds are not as easy to do with a lot of the content. And next up, let's talk about the cons. Like, obviously, I talked a lot about Archnemesis. That is the biggest one. And especially things like Effigy being in the game, the totem that like taunts monsters and reflects the damage to you, something like that. And if that gets DD'd, you just die. I absolutely hate Effigy. It shouldn't be in the game in any way, shape, or form. They are working a lot on Archnemesis. They've honestly been pretty good at that. They've been pretty good at communicating. And they've been like, yeah, I mean, we do kind of want a different experience than you guys. But like, yeah, we are nerfing them. They said that it was easier to start too high and then to nerf it than to, start too low and make it rippier. And I think that's fine. I do understand what they're trying to accomplish. And I think a few of the monsters do accomplish that, like the mana drain, etc. But I hope they can really get it right, because I think it is important that things in the game are dangerous. Not everything should just be a walk in the park, and that's fine. But it's hard to balance. Definitely remove effigy and immunities from the game. Immunities have already been patched out and are just very, very insane reduction. But even like the just crazy damage reduction feels very bad, especially on some essence monsters. So far, I kill Maven in I think like 8 or 10 seconds, maybe less. And there have been some essence monsters that I've literally taken 2 minutes to kill. Like, And I'm just sitting there feeling like Venarius, and I'm like, what are you? Impossible! And I'm like, does this thing have like 55 million life? Like, what's the damage reduction here? And then usually it's some sort of like flame weaver, immune, stupid monster. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? This is your map now. I'm leaving. Because when I can kill a pinnacle boss in 8 seconds and I can't kill you, then it's just not for me to kill. And it is really frustrating because, as you can see by the pros thing, this is such a positive league for me. So it is really frustrating that Archnemesis does take a lot away from that. Like, it's like my editor that put like notes in addition to like we make notes together, but my editor wrote, it's like going through an amazing view on an amazing road trip, but the car has a pile of shit inside it. Amazing, Scry. That's a great analogy, and definitely is would also sum up how I feel with Archnemesis. It's very, it's a pile of shit. Amazing. Performance for me this league has been almost flawless. I've had some crashes. I was crashing a little bit on Vulcan, especially with Betrayal, and then I switched to DirectX 12, and I have not had any crashes outside of Betrayal. I've had 2 in the research room, but after the recent patch, I haven't had any. And I do feel pretty safe now. I pop Val Molten Shell, and I still do Betrayal. A little bit scared. I don't want to crash and die. But, you know, performance for me, honestly, spotless. I do feel like there's some memory leak, so I do relog, especially if I'm doing, like, longer sessions, like 16 hours. I do want to restart my client a few times. Headhunter and Inspired Learning are both pretty dog shit right now. That's because auras don't stack. They have said that they are fixing this. I remember I said, like, 10 days ago or something. Headhunter is so cheap. This is definitely an investment opportunity. And very cool. A lot of my viewers started investing in headhunters. And then the last patch said we are still working on a headhunter fix. We come in when we're ready with it. And the headhunter price over doubled. So a lot of people sent me messages being like, dude, thank you for the investment advice. I doubled my money. But I do hope they fix it. I also hope they fix both headhunter and inspired learning. I think it's really, really important that they make inspired learning incredibly powerful and not just headhunter. The reason for this is that I have found an inspired learning and I don't have a headhunter. So I just want to make sure that they buff the item I have. Very important to me. Now, and these are some things that I'm a bit mixed about. There are no balance changes this league. I don't like it, but I also don't mind it that much. So for me, it depends a little bit, but at what cost? And by that, I mean, like, yeah, if GGG say like, okay, how about next league, we don't do any balance changes, but instead you're getting 7 new Uber bosses or a really cool crafting system, or we're going to work on this instead. That is honestly how it would need to be pitched for me to be more okay with it in the future. Because if it is just that, like, okay, we're just going to have no balance changes this league just because, then I never want it. The only reason I'd be okay with it is if we're getting something else instead. Like, all that developer time goes to something else instead. And I want to have a brief understanding on what that is. If not, I'm probably never going to feel okay with it, personally. Because I do like balance changes at least every 2 leagues and feel like that's very important. And just as a content creator, it is really a lot easier to make content when it does change. So that's probably how I would sum that up. But I think most people do dislike it. Just another banger league for me. I would rate it either an 8 or a 9. And this is also another league that could maybe hit a 10 for me. Synthesis is probably the only other one. And then Scourge was very close. Archnemesis wasn't. Archnemesis was maybe 8 or 9 as well. But at least very happy that for me, I've had some good leagues in a row now. Scourge is honestly the one I'm the most bitter with because I love Val things and like implicits and corruption. So I was just sad that they didn't nail the reward system there. But the way of interacting with the league, very cool. And the idea was very cool. But yeah, for me, just some banger leagues in a row is nice because I feel less bitter all the time then. And yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying it too. Let me know how you feel. Obviously, you don't have to feel the same way. But yeah, just wanted to make like a little sum up. And thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.